Hi, I'm Annie. Today I'm going to talk about depression. Someone recently private messaged me and asked me how I've dealt with depression in the past, how I've overcome it. And I responded with an answer, but I said I would think about it some more because I knew that there's really a lot to say about it and it's really important. So I thought about it for a couple days and I found that I have a lot to say about it. I don't know if I can fit it all into this video, but I'm going to do the best that I can to answer this question as thoroughly as possible. Now, this is just my experience. Everybody experiences depression differently. Obviously, really severe cases of depression might require professional help. I'm just some idiot on YouTube. If anything that I have to say is helpful to you, that's awesome. But if you need professional help, please seek it. So I'm going to talk about some different perspectives, some shifts in perception that I've used to help me with depression. And I'm also going to talk about some specific exercises and actions that have helped me deal with depression. However, depression is a very contracted state where you're sort of overcome by this kind of inertia where you don't want to do anything. You just can't find the will to take actions. So I'm going to do the best I can to explain what led me to push forward and take actions and actually take some steps to get moving and get out of that depressed state. I've had episodes of depression off and on throughout my life, mostly in my 20s and 30s. I'm almost 44 now, and I haven't felt depressed in a really long time. And I feel like it is possible for that mood to descend upon me, but I feel like I have the tools to deal with it, and I could manage it and crawl out of it again if it ever comes up. I've also dealt with other mood issues. Anxiety is a big one that I've also overcome, and it's just not really an issue anymore. I may have anxious thoughts, but I've got tools to deal with it, to stop the anxious thoughts and turn them around. So I have a lot of confidence that if depression or anxiety comes into my life again, that I have the tools to deal with it. I overcame it once or two or three times, and I can do it again. Now, the mood issue that I'm still really stuck on is frustration and rage. I get frustrated and rage pretty much on a daily basis, and it's just observer issues. It's my computer not working, my phone not working, things in the physical world being generally tedious. But because I've managed my depression in the past and I've dealt with anxiety, I have a lot of confidence that I can break that habitual pattern of going to rage when I get frustrated. I really think I can do it, and I'm working on it right now. It just takes practice. You can't just like wave a magic wand and make it disappear. It's a habit. It's very deeply ingrained, and you just have to practice. So sometimes I feel a little sadness or anxiety, but I've really just kind of made friends with these moods. I find that if I don't resist the feeling, then it kind of loses its steam. It just doesn't grip me anymore if I feel kind of sad. I might say like, oh, hello, sadness. Hello, fear. It's you again. What have you come here to tell me? And just listen to the sadness or the fear and then say, I hear ya, but that really isn't useful right now. Let's think about something else. Let's focus on solutions or do something fun or have different thoughts. So it's been really important for me to not beat myself up about it if I feel anxious or sad, but to just listen to the message that the fear or the sadness has to tell me and not resist it. Just feel it and let it move through. There are some really basic issues to address if you're feeling depression: basic nutrition and exercise. Now, as far as nutrition, people have so many different opinions about nutrition. I don't really want to get into that, but we can basically all agree that eating less sugar, less processed foods, less processed oils is better. So take care of yourself. That's the basics. When you're depressed, get exercise, get good nutrition, take care of yourself. A really good tool for dealing with any mood issue is the ability to observe yourself, to step outside of yourself and observe your thoughts, your actions, your emotions. Now, a lot of people would suggest that you can do this by focusing on the present moment and by practicing meditation, by sort of sitting still and observing your thoughts. And I think that's fine if that resonates with you. For me, I've always found that kind of sitting meditation to be really frustrating, and it just felt like it was going to take a really long time for me to get the hang of it. So here's what I did instead in order to master the art of observing myself. For several months, I wrote in a journal every day, but I did it in the third person. So a typical entry might be something like, she felt really down today. She was feeling really insecure, and she had an interaction with a client. I'm a massage therapist, so that's what I mean when I say client. She had an interaction with a client and it just didn't really go very well. And it was really because she was so insecure and she just wasn't assertive enough. She wasn't present enough. And then later on, when she got home, she felt bad about herself because the interaction wasn't very good. And so she ate a lot of ice cream. She didn't even really want it. She just ate it anyway, ate more than she needed, more than she wanted. And then that made her feel bad. And she felt bad about eating the ice cream. And she went to bed feeling really miserable and kind of in a self-loathing state. My recommendation to her for next time, if she's having a day where she's feeling insecure, is to get a little bit of physical activity before her appointment. If there's enough time, she could go on a walk or go on a run, or if she only has a few minutes, she could just do some jumping jacks before the appointment to really change her physiology and make her feel energized. So then that way when her client shows up, she can just be more grounded and present. And after doing this on a daily basis for several months, it became automatic to step out of myself and observe myself as objectively as possible. You can never observe yourself completely objectively, but this gets you partway there. And it's really just an amazing tool to have, to step outside of yourself and observe your thoughts, your actions, your feelings. Once you're able to do this, then you can stop your thoughts. If there's a thought that's really negative or destructive, you can say, hey, wait a minute, that thought isn't useful. What if we thought this instead? You can turn it around. And there again, it's really important not to beat yourself up about it. If you have a negative thought or a bizarre thought, people think really weird shit. That's just how it is. But you can stop the habitual negative thoughts and kind of train yourself to think in a more proactive way, to think of solutions instead of think of problems. Just journaling in general is a really amazing tool. As cheesy as it sounds, keeping a gratitude journal, listing the things that you're grateful for, listing the good things in life. This has been a really amazing tool for me that I started doing about the time that I started this channel about a year ago. I'm a really pessimistic person, and that's one of the reasons I started this channel. That's why the name of the channel is Miserable Cow. You know, moving from misery to magic. Because I decided I was just done being pessimistic. So I started this channel to just talk about it, like real talk about my mood, my bad habits, you know, all the good things and the bad things. And around the same time, I started a gratitude journal and I started listing the things that I'm grateful for every day. And at first, when I started it, the whole time I was doing it, I was just like, this is so fucking stupid. This is bullshit. I hate this. But lo and behold, it actually works. So now instead of having a habit of noticing all the bad things in my life, all the bad things that aren't working and all the things that suck and aren't good enough, I am just in the habit of noticing the good things. And I still do it every day, every morning. Visualization is another thing that's really helped me over the years with depression and also with anxiety. I have a couple of quick and easy visualizations that I use. One of them is taking a shower. Another one is hugging my dog. And then I have a more elaborate visualization that I use if I have more time. And I've talked about that in a previous video. I'll link that up in the cards. So visualizing is incredibly powerful. For example, if you visualize that you're taking a shower, the warm water is hitting your skin, and you get that relaxation response. You can just sort of remember what that feels like. You can recreate the same physiological response as if you were actually taking a shower. That's incredibly powerful. If you are in a very anxiety-provoking situation, or you're feeling really down, really sad, really tense, you can go to your favorite visualization and actually change your physiology. Now, The key to making this work is to really practice it every day. So if you wait until you're in a crisis and then you remember, oh yeah, think of being in a shower, think of being in a shower, it won't be as powerful as if you practice visualizing that every day. Whether you feel good or not, say you feel great that day, but you still run through the simulation. Remember what it feels like to take a shower. Then you become so good at calling up that visualization, and it just becomes more and more real and vivid, so that when you really need it, when you're in some sort of crisis situation or a bad mood, you can recall that visualization and it works. It works really well. Another thing that really helped me was understanding that moods are habitual. And the first few times I heard this in my 20s, the idea really upset me. It was like maybe a therapist or somebody told me, you know, mood is a habit. And I was just like, fuck you, this isn't a habit. Life is really shitty. That's why I feel bad, you know? But as I got older, I learned that mood really is a habit. You really have to take radical responsibility for your own mood and understand that it is a habit. So we just have habitual thoughts, negative thoughts. Those negative thoughts cause unpleasant emotions, but you can start to clean up your thoughts. You can start to stop the negative thoughts when you get them and turn them around, turn them into something more positive. But it really takes practice, and it's really about taking full responsibility for your internal state. And bad things really do actually happen in the physical world. It's not about denying anything. If you live any kind of life, bad things are going to happen. Tragic things, sad things, they happen to everyone. But taking responsibility for your mood and your reaction is how you get through it. You know, you take 5 different people and have the same terrible thing happen to them, and they're all going to react differently. Some people are going to be more emotionally mature. They're going to have more of a sense of responsibility. They're going to take responsibility for their inner state. And then, you know, someone else is just going to deteriorate and wallow in the habitual negative thinking, self-pity. All of this is really difficult to hear if you suffer from depression. If I was in my 20s and somebody said all this to me and I was in that really dark state, I would just be like, fuck you. Like, you know, like you have no idea what it's like to be me. So I understand that a depressed person hearing any of this might feel that way. But just let the idea that mood is habitual plant a seed in your mind and just keep it there, and maybe it'll be useful someday. So depression is a really contracted state where you just don't want to move. You don't want to do anything. You don't feel like doing anything. But the key to overcoming it is actual movement, taking action, physical exercise is a really powerful tool. Running, walking, dancing, lifting weights, yoga. And if that is all just too exercisey for you, other things that are effective are like singing or other vagus nerve stimulation kind of things. Singing is a physical activity. It actually stimulates your vagus nerve. It turns on the parasympathetic nervous system response. It has a relaxing effect on your body. You know, going on a walk, getting your blood moving is good. It really, really helps so much. It's so worth it. Getting physical also helps because it's sort of approaching the problem from a different angle. Talk therapy can be really, really helpful. Just talking to another person about your issues and what you're going through. But sometimes in talk therapy, people tend to rehash the same story over and over again. They kind of attach to their story the things in the external world that they think are responsible for their depression. When you use exercise to change your physiological state, you're really approaching the problem from a different angle. You're kind of bypassing the mind and you're just like working on the problem on a physical level. And you're changing your physiology. You're changing your brain chemicals. Talk therapy has its place, but also be aware if you're falling into that trap where you're just like blaming things in the external world in kind of a habitual way, telling the same story over and over again, telling your own story of self-pity over and over and over again. You really can't get anywhere with that. You know, if you're not moving from that story into something else, then you're not really getting anywhere. So sometimes it is useful to just approach the problem on a physical level. You can do this with body work. I've been a massage therapist for 15 years now, and I know that the work that I do with people on a physical level with their bodies helps them with their mood. Like talk therapy is great. You should do that, but also, you know, adding other components, body work, exercise can also really, really help. We store emotions and trauma in our body. There have been so many times on my massage table when I'm working on someone and they just start to cry. Memories and trauma are physically stored in the muscles, and when you work on them, sometimes those things get released. Okay, so I've mentioned, you know, a bunch of tips and techniques and tricks you can do to help get out of depression and shift your mood, but how do you do those things when you just don't want to? When you're depressed, you might be laying in bed and just feel paralyzed, unable to move, unable to find the will to take any action or even get out of bed. So then what do you do? I am familiar with this dilemma because I've been there. I remember in my 20s feeling really depressed, and it was maybe the year 2000. So the internet was really new. There wasn't even Google yet. Maybe it was like Yahoo. But I looked up on the internet, what do you do when you're depressed? And there were, you know, a bunch of tips, and exercise was one of the things on there. And I absolutely didn't want to exercise, but I also didn't want to be depressed. So I exercised anyway. And the whole time I was doing it, I was just, you know, thinking like, this is stupid, this is bullshit. But I did it anyway because I didn't want to be depressed. And I think sometimes that's what it takes. You have to reach a point where you just say to yourself, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to be depressed anymore. I will do the things. I'll do the things that I need to do to get out of it. I will take the steps. You have to get to a point where you're ready to take action. If you're not there yet, I don't know what to tell you except that I got there. And another thing that you can do, if you're not there yet, say out loud and write down in your journal, what would it be like if I got up and took actions to get out of depression? Your mind wants to answer questions. So when you ask yourself, what would it be like if I wanted to get out of bed and go for a walk? Your mind wants so badly to answer that question. So you will get out of bed and you will discover what it's like when you want to get out of bed and go for a walk. I use this technique all the time. Almost every day in my journal, I write down questions. One of the defining characteristics of depression is that you don't want to do the things that you used to enjoy. So for example, I used to enjoy playing guitar, but if I was really, really depressed, I might think, I don't want to play guitar. I can't even pick it up and play. It's just stupid. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do anything. But then I might ask myself, what would it be like if I picked up my guitar and I played it and it felt really amazing? Or how amazing will it be when I pick up my guitar and I play it and it feels good and I feel better? Your mind wants to answer that question so bad that probably you will get out of bed and pick up your guitar and play. The mind is like a loyal dog that just wants to fetch what you suggest to it. So ask yourself, how amazing would it be if this depression lifted enough that I could get out of bed and go for a walk? And then just wait, and no pressure, no pressure on an outcome. Just ask yourself that question, wait, and see what happens. The other thing that has helped me in times when I've been depressed to get up, get out of bed, take action is this realization that I had about motivation sometime in my 20s. I made another video about motivation, and I'll link that up in the cards if you want to hear more about that. But basically, motivation is overrated. Don't wait to feel motivated. And especially if you're depressed, you might not feel motivated. Don't wait for that. Just do the things that you know you need to do to get better anyway, even if you don't feel like it. If you're miserable and you don't want to go on a walk, take your misery on a walk with you. If you're gonna feel miserable, you might as well get some fresh air. I mean, that is a defining characteristic of depression, is that you don't want to do anything, but the way to get out of depression is to do things. So you just sort of have to override that. This understanding of motivation has helped me so much in my life to accomplish things, because there's a lot of stuff that I wanted to accomplish, or things that I knew I should do that I didn't want to do. And if we all just didn't didn't do things because we didn't want to, nothing would ever get done. I don't want to do all the shit on my to-do list at all, but I just do it anyway because I said I was going to. I made a commitment. So when you're depressed, if you can get yourself to a point where you say, I don't want to feel depressed anymore, I am ready to take actions, I'm ready to do something proactive about this, then you're not necessarily going to feel amazing when you're taking those steps. You're not going to necessarily want to, but you just do them anyway. Go through the motions. Kind of like when I first started my gratitude journal, I was just going through the motions. I kind of thought it was bullshit. I thought it was some stupid law of attraction bullshit, and I didn't want to do it. But I just did it anyway because everybody says that gratitude journals are so amazing. They're magical. They make all your dreams come true. And so I just did it anyway, and I stuck with it. And yeah, it is magic. And I'll have to make another video about that sometime. And I've heard that some people really find accountability helpful when it comes to exercise or any kind of new habit that you're trying to cultivate. That really isn't true for me. I'm really internally motivated. I know that's helpful for so many people. So if that's how you operate, definitely find a buddy to exercise with, or, join a group to do some kind of practice with. If that helps you to stick to the habit, then absolutely do it. That's really all I can think of right now to say about my experience with depression and the tools that I've used to deal with it and overcome it. If you have any questions for me, leave a comment. And if you'd like to schedule a video chat to talk about this or other topics, you can check out my snug link in the description.